GCSE question of the week, week 4. Foundation and overlap higher question first. So m is an integer such that, right, before we look at the such that, if we don't know what that word integer means, we are not going to get this question right. Okay, so number 1, what does the word integer mean? Right, an integer is just posh for a whole number. So an integer is a whole number. So 3 is an integer. 3.2, not an integer. Okay, so now we've got some inequality symbols to deal with. Here and here. Right, so we need a quick recap. We need to know that this symbol means less than, and although it's not in the question, we need to know that this symbol means greater than or more than, bigger than. Okay, so let's write our inequality out. Okay, this says that 9 is less than m. We don't know what m is, but it's some integer, which is less than 18. So the whole thing reads 9 is less than m, and m is less than 18. So m is somewhere in this range between 9 and 18. But because it's less than 18, it can't be 18. And because it's greater than 9, it can't be 9. Okay, so I just read that inequality backwards. Okay, although this reads 9 is less than m, which is less than 18, we can equally read from the m part to the left. We could say that m is greater than 9. So reading that way from the middle, m is greater than 9. And reading to the right, m is less than 18. Right, if you're unsure about that, let's just look at the two signs on the inequality. Every time we've got a big side and we've got a little side. Okay, so this point in the arrow is tiny, this side's big. So the m has got to be bigger than the 9. Same on this one. We've got a tiny and we've got a big. So the 18 has got to be bigger than, greater than the m. So we can read these either way, as long as we're sure about which side of the inequality is which. Alright, so what's our answer? Number 2, write down the greatest, the biggest, the largest. The greatest number m can be. So I think the biggest number that m can be is 17. It can't be 18 because it tells us m is less than 18. What are we going to do next? Write down the smallest number, the lowest number, the smallest number that m can be. Well, this time, I think the smallest number m can be is 10. We can't go down to 9 because it says that m is greater than 9, or 9 is less than m. Right, I think we're done. Number 2, 17. Number 3, 10. Let's look at our next inequality. Right, our next inequality says that 9, new symbol. So we've got 2 new symbols to deal with. This time we need to know that this symbol means less than or equal to. So it's nearly the same as the symbol at the top, but the extra line means it can also be equal to. And we also need to know, although it's not in this question, that this symbol means, you guessed it, greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. Okay, other than that, they work in exactly the same way as the first ones. So let's look at our range. We've got 9 is less than or equal to some new integer, L. It's still an integer, still a whole number. 9 is less than or equal to L, which is less than or equal to 18. Okay, but again, we could read that the other way. We could say L is less than or equal to 18, and L is greater than or equal to 9. So this time, what's the greatest, the biggest number that L can be? Well, this time L can be 18. It can be less than or equal to 18. So I think the biggest number that it can be is 18. Write down the smallest number that L can be. Well, this time we can go all the way down to the 9, because it says L is greater than or equal to 9, or 9 is less than or equal to L. So the smallest number that L can be this time is 9. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, done. Right, let's clear some space and look at question 6. A and B are both integers, whole numbers. A plus B equals 260. A is 80 more than B. Find the value of A and B. Right, now some of you were fantastic at this in class. You could visualise what to do, and you didn't need to write down the steps I'm going to write. But I like to write some equations. So let's have a look. The first thing I'm going to write is A plus B equals 260. That's given in the question. But it then says A is 80 more than B. So I'm going to represent that as a new equation. A is 80 more than B. Well, if that's true, then A must be equal to B plus another 80. A is 80 more than B. So A is going to be whatever B is, plus another 80. It's 80 more than B. So I've written my own equation. I've now got two equations, both with A and B in. I've got two simultaneous equations. Okay, now I think I could solve those if I use the fact that A we could change to B plus 80. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute A for our expression on the right hand side of this equation for A into the top equation, A plus B equals 260. So what I mean is I'm going to copy out the top equation again, but instead of writing A, I'm going to write B plus 80, because we know from here that A is equal to B plus 80. So I've put B plus 80 instead of my A here. Then I'm going to copy out the rest of the equation as it was. So I've got B plus 80, plus B, that's from here, equals 260, that's from here. Alright, so all we've done is replace that A with our B plus 80 instead of A. Now I can simplify this. I've got B plus 80 plus B. Well, I think that's 2B plus 80 equals 260. And now I've got an equation that we can solve. Okay, so what shall I do to the left-hand side? I think we should subtract 80. If we do that, we'll get 2B. And we'll get equals, I'm going to subtract 80, 180. Okay, what have we got to do then? Well, if we divide both sides by 2, we'll get left with B equals 90. So I think B is 90. We can then use our equation A plus B equals 260 and write in our B as 90, substitute in B as 90. So we've got A plus 90 must be equal to 260. Okay, we're just taking our value of B and sticking it in. So A plus 90 equals 260. Right, you can probably see what we need to do next. We need to subtract 90 from both sides. That's going to give us A equals 170. So I think my answer is A is 170 and B is 90. Right, let's just check. Are we correct that A plus B equal 260? Well, if we add 170 and 90, we get 260. Are we correct that A is 80 more than B? Well, A is 170, and that is 80 more than 90. Fantastic, so we're done. A is 170, B is 90. Okay, again, we cleared some space. We said that A is equal to 170 and B was 90. Okay, question 6, done. Right, so have a look at number 7. Solve 4 bracket x minus 5 equals 18. Alright, now there are two ways of doing this. Let's write the question out. We've got 4, let's make that a bit thinner. We've got 4 x minus 5, and that equals 18. So method 1, I think we can expand the brackets. So expand the brackets, that means multiply the 4 by the x and multiply the 4 by this negative 5. Right, we'll do that one step at a time. 4 times x, that's 4x. 4 times the negative 5, that's going to give me minus 20. That's going to be equal to 18, just like it was above. I think then we need to add 20 to both sides. Add 20 to both sides, we'll get 4x equals 38. Looks like we're then going to divide by 4. Okay, divide 4x by 4, we get x. Divide 38 by 4. Okay, I'm going to halve it and halve it again. So 38 divided by 2, that's 19. Divide that by 2, Okay, check this through for me. I reckon that's 9.5. Okay, just check back. I think the 4 times 9.5 should give me 38. And I think that's right. So x equals 9.5. Right, alternatively, some of you solved it like this. You started the same for x minus 5 equals 18. Right, we could have divided by the 4 straight away because it's outside that bracket. That's okay, that's allowed. X minus 5, if we divide by 4, we'll be left with x minus 5. Okay, we're then going to do 18 divided by 4. Well, again, I'm going to halve it again. So 9 is half of 18. Half that again, we get 4.5. Step 2, let's add 5 to both sides. That's going to leave me with x equals, brilliant, 9.5. We get the same answer. Okay, so x equals 9.5. And we should have highlighted that keyword. It says solve. That means find the answer. Find what x is. So we've done x equals 9.5. Now, even if you use the method on the right, the method on the left is really, really important for you to remember how we expand those brackets. Make sure you understand both methods. Okay, let's now have a look at the first question on the higher section. So the first question on the higher section says expand and simplify. Right, expand means get rid of those brackets by multiplying out. And simplify means collect any like terms that we can as we go. Okay, so even if you were, even if you're just looking at foundation, looking at the first part of this is still really, really useful. So the first part of this question is we're going to pretend that this last bracket is not there. The first step of getting this right is just expanding the x plus 3 in brackets with the 2x minus 2 in brackets. And that could come up on either tier. So it's worth you sticking with this if you know you're doing foundation. Let's have a look. How would we do that? Well, we've got x plus 3, 2x minus 2. So if we were using FOIL as our method for expanding, what are we going to do? FOIL is going to tell us we've got to do the first term multiplied by the first term. Right, what's that going to give us? X times 2x, x multiplied by 2x, or 2x multiplied by x. That's not going to give me 3x, that would be adding them. Ooh, come back. Right, that's going to give me 2x squared. So that's from the 2x multiplied by the x. Right, the next, so I've done F, the firsts. Let's look at the O in FOIL, the outers. Well, that's going to be these terms, the first and the last term. So we've got to do x multiplied by negative 2. So x multiplied by negative 2, or negative 2 multiplied by x. That's going to give me a negative, positive times a negative, negative 2x. Now let's look at the I in FOIL. Right, the I in FOIL is going to be our inners. That's the inner two terms, which are these. Okay, the positive 3 multiplied by the positive 2x. 3 times 2x. That's going to give me 6x. So we're going to get plus 6x. And our final term in FOIL, or our final instruction in FOIL, is the lasts. Okay, so the lasts, what should we go for? Right, the lasts are the positive 3 and the negative 2. So we're going to do 3 multiplied by negative 2. It's going to give me a plus times a minus, that's a minus. 2 times 3 is 6. We're going to get negative 6 or minus 6. Okay, right. What can we now do? Before we go any further, I think that I've only got one term in x squared, but I've got some x's and some x's. We can lump those together. So it's going to give us 2x squared. That stays as it was. And I've got minus 2x plus 6x. That's the same as plus 6x minus 2x. I make that plus 4x. I had more of the positive x's than the negative x's, so I should get a positive coefficient of x left. And we've got minus 6. Okay, if you followed that step, and you may have used a grid method to do it instead, that's fantastic. That's as far as it's going to go on Foundation 2. So if you're on higher, join me on the next video, and we'll go through the whole of the 3 bracket expansion.